What is up, ladies and gents? We are back, and in today's video we are going to start the new dungeon. Before you start, know that you will need the tank to have Bastion at a high level to make you require less defense, but otherwise have skill damage resistance preferred at 200 minimum. Now for the starters, the boss will begin with the heavy attack that you will roll block. After, let the tank position away from the team so you can focus DPS the boss without getting knockbacks. Other honorable mentions are the rain of arrows that happen that you can just sidestep. It can track you, so be wary. Now for the first main mechanic to begin, there will be 3 players marked with a red symbol. Those players will have an AoE shockwave push out. To not avoid death, you can't have them stack. One hit can nearly kill you, so it's fine to get hit by one. It will pulse 3 times, then shoot out, so don't stand in the way of the shockwave. After, everyone will stack center so you can get all of the defense buffs from the tank. The healer will drop an AoE heal circle and later a big AoE heal to make sure players with not enough skill damage resistance don't die. If you have high enough resistance, it should say 0, but if you don't, the damage will vary between 33, 66, 170, even higher depending on how much you have, and this all can tick your health quickly. This mechanic is important because what the boss is doing is generating vials of blood to fill that you can use for a later mechanic. There are 5 vials that you can see in the distance in the back of the map. Understand this, once this vial begins to fill, you can no longer drain all the vials. If you drain all the vials of blood, he will begin a wipe sequence. If you fill all vials of blood by not blocking or just general mechanics, it will begin a wipe sequence. So you need to keep an eye on the vials while DPSing the boss. The spinning blades mechanic will always generate 3 blood vials, which is good because you will always need a minimum of 3. Next mechanic, he will choose 1 player and bind them. That binded player will be unable to move, so all players need to rush to that player and get ready to block the 3 heavy hits the boss will charge with. All players need to successfully block, and you can't miss one. I would say you need at least 3 blocks based off what you see. Done correctly and the binded player will release and you all regroup behind the boss. If you don't do it correctly, the player will be binded and the boss will execute them, removing 1 more member from your group, but you can still continue technically, just heavy DPS loss. Once done correctly, everyone still needs to get behind the boss because he can still execute in front of him. Wait for the next rolling block and get behind the tank. Do not be in front of the tank because the tank needs to absorb the next mechanic. The boss will target the closest player and start beaming them. And just like the spinning blades, you guessed it, it also fills up a blood vial. The boss will then teleport to the center preparing for the next mechanic. There will be 5 pins placed in the middle of all 5 vials in a line, which will be important for positioning. Some players will get chased by zombies that have hidden numbers you can't see unless you are a marked player and consume a vial, and everyone else will not. Those players that get chased have to position correctly with their zombie, if not it ends in death. This will start once the boss teleports to the middle and after the first heavy attack. For this mechanic there will be 2 types of players. Players that have zombies and those that do not. If you are a player with a closed eye or open eye with a zombie, bring it to the vial. Open the vial while dodging the zombie's heavy attacks and see what number it has. You don't have to fully bring the zombie, it's just easier to see the number. The zombie will have a number between 1 through 5. This will determine your distance from the boss. 1 being closest to the boss, 3 being middle, and 5 being the furthest. There are other numbers as well, so that is just for reference. What if you have a zombie chasing you and you don't have an eye? That means that you didn't perfect block a minimum of 3 times. Throughout the fight, you will have to do a perfect block at least 3 times to get an eye. Once you successfully position correctly, the zombies will latch on to you and freeze you in place for a short period of time until they release you, in which you can go back and DPS the boss. Remember, only marked players can open vials and to not open more than 3. If you open 4 after the dungeon begins, it results in a wipe mechanic. So pay attention. You need to always have at least 1 vial active, otherwise, of course, again, it's a wipe. Not all players will get zombies, so if you don't have a zombie chasing you, don't even speak and clutter the comms. Just get close to the boss and continue to DPS. But if you are chosen, you get priority to open the vials. Make it easy and open the vials from left to right or right to left so you are not scrambling on which ones to open. But please, for the love of God, try to stack correctly on the correct pins. If done incorrectly, let's say someone had the number 5 zombie and they are in position 1 and player 1 was in position 5. It will summon a Reaper that will kill you instantly and there is no living that. You need everyone to be alive to make it easy to beat this boss. Once this mechanic is over, you can go back and DPS the boss and 1 player will still have an active mark. That player's job is to monitor and make sure that not too many vials are active. You know the spinning blaze mechanic will come again soon, filling up 3 more vials. So if you have 2 vials active after the whole phase, and then the spinning blaze mechanic is next, it will result in a wipe. So that player has to drain 1 vial from the 2, so there's only 1 active vial on the field. If there's only 1, you can relax. The last phase of the boss, it gets chaotic, but it's basically the same concept. Just rinse and repeat until it's dead. Another tip I forgot to mention is you know you're in the correct spot with your zombie if the lightning zaps yellow. If it zaps red, you will be hit with the Reaper. Last tip is if you perfect blocked 3 times in the first wave and received a mark, you will not get one on the next set as far as I know. If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment. If you finally beat this dungeon, and tell me what you think. Is it too easy or too hard? I think it's fine, and I want to enjoy more dungeons like this. Thanks guys, and as always, stay blessed.